Call the meeting to order. First order of business is the oath or affirmation of office. Turn it over to our CAO.
Okay, Eileen, if you could stand and put your right hand over your heart, raise your left hand, and repeat after me. I, Eileen Wilkie,
I, Eileen Wilkie,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I am qualified to hold the office of councillor
do solemnly swear or confirm that I am qualified to hold the office of councillor
for the village of Lions Bay,
for the village of Lions Bay,
to which I have been elected.
to which I have been elected.
I have not,
I have not,
by myself or any other person,
by myself or any other person,
knowingly contravened the Local Government Act
knowingly contravened the Local Government Act
respecting vote buying or intimidation
respecting vote buying or intimidation
in relation to my election to public office.
in relation to my election to public office.
I will faithfully perform the duties of my office
I will faithfully perform the duties of my office
and will not allow any private interest
and will not allow any private interest
to influence my conduct in public affairs.
to influence my conduct in public affairs.
As required by the Community Charter,
As required by the Community Charter,
I will disclose any direct or indirect
I will disclose any direct or indirect
pecuniary interest
pecuniary interest
I have in a matter
I have in a matter
and will not participate in the discussion
and will not participate in the discussion
of the matter
of the matter
and will not vote in respect of the matter.
and will not vote in respect to the matter.
Do you so swear or affirm?
I do.
Okay, welcome. You can sign that. And
If you could pronounce all those words, you have a place to seat.
if you'd like, sign a second one there, and then you can keep one for edification or posterity.
It's the same one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next order of business is the agenda. Approval of the agenda. Additions?
Additions, thank you, Your Worship. Under new business, I have 3 items. One is the number 1 is Trailblazers request. Number 2 is the BC Community Achievement Awards, the 2017s, and the 2017 BC Medal of Good Citizenship.
So that last one is 3 then?
Yes, 1, 2, 3.
What was the first one? Trailblazer?
It was Trailblazers request.
Thank you.
Sorry, the second one was.
BC Community Achievement Award.
Community Achievement Awards. Okay, any other additions? Hearing none. All those, oh, you have one? Oh, okay. All those in favor of the agenda? Approval?
Thank you, Chair.
We have approved the agenda. Public participation. We have 1, Myron Lutet.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Merry Christmas, new councillor. Just one item that I used to live by when I was in private industry, which may or may not be appropriate for yours, but we had an annual performance review individually, and what we had was objectives that we had set for ourselves and approved by our bosses at the beginning of the year. Then we had to put in our results that we got by the end of the year, and we had to make any kind of corrective or preventative actions that we put forward to get back to our objectives. My question is, does Mayor and Council have these types of performance reviews as one or as a group? That's all I have. Thank you.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Your Worship, on Council's behalf, with any points by Peter. Thank you, Mr. Lutet. Your question is well raised. I can, in a general way, say that this is a topic of discussion with Council and the CAO. The village has got 3 management exclusive, the rest of our staff are union. So any performance and merit review that you're talking about ultimately would be centered around council's primarily one employee, which is the CAO. And as I say, it's a topic of discussion at the current time.
Thank you.
Peter, any further comments?
Oh, I think that's
Good, thank you. Are we good? Thanks.
Good. No other candidates for public participation. We'll move on to delegations, which we have none. And that takes us up to the minutes of our November 15th meeting. Minutes are before you. Any errors or omissions? Comments, questions? Yes.
This is on the carry forwards on this. I think item number 7, which is the BC assessment. I think I got that one right. Okay, that one I saw, which is number 110, carries forward. So I'm a little always confused with the to-do part of the agenda thing. So I think that one, number 7.7 is on the IRR. On the top of page 9, which is the works manager's SCADA stuff, does that just stay on the capital expenditure list, Peter?
so we talk page 9.
Page 9, first 2 sentences.
And sorry, your question again is?
How does it come back to us, or does it just versus going into limbo?
No, it will be coming back to you in the form of a report from Public Works
okay.
Manager Jaffer. He will be
That's fine.
bringing up that topic, reporting back.
Good. I have no changes, Your Worship.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of the minutes? Again, that carries. Okay, over to business arising. I don't think we have any yet. So do we?
I think Peter just responded to my
Yes.
request.
Okay. Then should we go to the unfinished business? Information and resource requests.
So I was going to suggest that we'll just briefly go through this and, for the sake of Councillor Wilkie, explain what this is all about in case you're familiar with the IRRs as we call them, which is short for Information and Resource Request. So this document was created in order to provide a means to capture all of the miscellaneous types of requests for information or resources for almost anything under the sun that isn't normally captured in other processes.
Okay.
So if there's, a lot of them come from the mayor.
Saw that.
And so they're categorized and then brought to this table so that council as a whole can review what's being asked. Sometimes those requests are very simple to fulfill. It's just a case of finding the information and answering a question or two. Other times it requires staff time, and that can vary in terms of the amount of staff time. Sometimes it's difficult for council to know how much time is involved in finding something out or fulfilling a request. Sometimes things that may seem very simple have a lot more to them than one might realize at
Yes.
first. So it's an opportunity to bring it forward to this table and for staff to understand what it is that's involved in the request, and then to, if necessary, take the time to come back with further information, or have a discussion at the table so that council can make an assessment as to whether or not allocation of those resources is a priority item or not. because we do have limited resources, so we need to prioritize and assign staff time accordingly. So that's sort of the intent, and then council will make a resolution to do something or not do something, or wipe it off the list, or find out further information or what have you. So
How do things get on the list?
basically, you would just email me,
Okay.
and then I would add it to the list and bring it to the next meeting.
Okay.
And sometimes it might be something that I can just answer. Where we can fulfill requests for information, we'll turn that around as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Where there's more involved, then we'll add it to this list and bring it to all of council.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, I looked at all the things and the redundant ones or whatever they were at the back, preempted. Okay.
Okay. And so what we've got is we've got the requests, and then once if council makes a resolution, then they go to the resolutions part of the IRR, and then we've got completed resolutions, which tracks the fulfillment of those requests, and then ultimately we have a section called, as you noted, preempted requests, and preempted can mean either time has passed and the questions become moot, or it's something that's already been done, or it's being covered off through the financial plan process, or any number of things that really
Yes.
could make it sort of preempted.
Or council would prefer that time is not expended on this.
Right.
Well, that would normally flow into an actual resolution, and then that resolution would probably just sit there.
How long do the completed resolutions stay there?
Well, this is what you see here is since day one, since we started doing this
Okay.
earlier this year, and at some point we might archive some of these things, but for the time being, it provides a means for us to look back and whatever happened to that request. So well, you can find it and see what its status is. So it's a means of tracking both for council and for staff miscellaneous things that might otherwise get lost or fall between the cracks.
No, it's a good idea.
Actually, Peter, on this, to go to version 2.0 and minimize the paperwork, I'd be amenable that with the start of the calendar year, if you shrunk this would be just great.
Okay, well we can look into perhaps
The archive stuff.
just archive some of them
Yeah.
so that we've only got 1 or 2 sheets
Yeah.
instead of 5 or 6.
Well, a lot of them have already been dealt with, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so it's,
normal
we're just
down
seeing
list, yeah.
5
Yeah.
pages instead of 1 or 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we'd still have the original
Well,
4
I think
pages that we...
the question and answer are actually quite valued, so rather than going into wherever they used to go, which was who knows where, I think we now have a capable system so that future council members can retrieve the data.
Yeah, it won't be lost. So with respect to the first one that was brought to the last meeting, the CFO was able to answer a couple of questions, and we're still working on the third request, which is a bit more involved. And with respect to request ID 111, the hall sound speakers, I'm told that we actually still use those, that they're functional and that they're hooked up, and they're hooked to the CD system, I think, or I forget what, but they are still used. So I think that pretty much answers that question.
Public Works is working on it.
I'm not sure. Did you talk to staff?
There was a brief discussion this afternoon,
Okay.
but
I missed that.
yeah.
Okay.
And then with respect to the next one, salmon fishing, anyone? Now, are you able to provide an update on that at all? Or you spoke to
No, I have
somebody
not. I'm still awaiting answer back from the stream keepers on who our DFO rep is
okay,
locally.
all right. And
Can I just ask, I take it a sign appeared, but nobody knows anything about it? Is that what the
Correct.
issue is?
Yeah. The mayor forwarded a photo of a sign on a signpost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got a request with respect to festive lights, which was talked about briefly earlier this year. And this request is a little bit more focused at this point now. But I'm not 100% sure which tree the mayor has in mind. So without him being here to provide some further detail, unless somebody knows exactly which tree it is, maybe we can put it over for the next meeting.
Okay.
Or for the next year, because
think the next
festive
year.
lights
Yeah,
are.
I think we're,
With the storm coming in, I think Works is time well spent, even if they had green lights up the wazoo on a budget, which they don't. I just don't see it this year, but I think for me, I've kept it for next year.
okay.
Well, we've got one more meeting and it's too late then, so.
Yeah, maybe
Right.
October, November next year, we could.
Well, we do budget in January, so I'll be on that.
You put it as early as you can, so it's
Yeah.
planned in the budget and it's there,
Okay.
so.
So perhaps council would like to refer it to the budget process for
That's what's
2017?
actually, my comment right here was budget 2017.
Okay,
So for me, I would consider this one answered,
okay.
unless my colleagues disagree.
Well,
Okay.
Okay,
Is that as far as you wanted to go there?
yeah, I think that's about it. So if we can perhaps have a motion with respect to, as per the agenda, that the IRRs be proceeded in accordance with the discussion we just had.
So how do we word that? I'm trying to grab
Actually,
your thought there, but I'm a little fuzzy.
yeah, just
Oh, just as it is?
the wording as it is, and with the one resolution that was made to refer item 113 to the 2017 budget process, and the rest are still out there.
Okay.
Or actually, no, the Hall Sound Speakers is actually disposed of.
Okay, somebody want to make such a motion?
I'll move exactly that.
Okay.
Did you
Second?
get that?
Second? All those in favor?
Yeah,
Against? Carried. Good. Pam, you pass that down to your neighbor? On the other side?
Where's this going?
You. Okay, let's see, going on to reports now. First report, staff, CFO janitorial services contract, page 27.
So we recently went out to RFP for our janitorial services. So that's for weekly cleaning for the village hall, the community hall, the Platt building where the ESS room is, and the public works, and the parks washrooms in the summer. Our current cleaner, she was still under contract, but she asked to be let out of the contract because she found full-time employment. So we were okay with that. And like I say, we went out to RFP. We received 4 proposals, and staff reviewed those based on the criteria outlined in the RFP, which I attached. But essentially, it was 60% was for price, and then the balance was just whether or not they fully understood the needs of the village. And so we chose Executive Building Maintenance Inc. based on those criteria. They were the most favorable in price, but they also seemed to have a very good understanding of what it was we needed. And the total dollar value of the contract does fall within our current budget, so we didn't need to increase the budget. One of the advantages of going with a company, we've always in the past had individual cleaners who have done a good job, but they were one person, so if they were sick or vacation, we always struggled to have that coverage. So the nice thing now about stepping up and going to a company is that we will always have cleaning every week, which is really what we need. Weekly seems to suit our needs well. So basically, as per the recommendation in the council report, we're just asking that Mayor and the corporate officer be authorized to execute a contract with Executive Building Inc. in substantial accordance with the terms and conditions set out in the RFP.
Good. Any
Is there any
discussion?
questions about the cleaning, or?
That was pretty clear.
So, on this one, which is page 30, Pam, right here, on page 30 of 150, and I'm focusing on the additional options. You'd mentioned the public park washrooms.
Yes,
So it says an option, in fact, that is part of the package?
it is part of the package that they will be cleaning the washrooms over the period we requested, weekly.
So it's the one full clean during peak season each week?
Correct.
And since the works manager is here, I think our guys go in there.
And we will continue to go in and do the occasional clean when needed.
Okay, so that's all done, and I think previously, okay, I'm good, thank you.
No further comments, questions? How about we move to accept the recommendations listed below on the award for contract for janitorial services? Anyone? Moved by Ron. Second?
Yep.
Good. All those in favor? Carried. Next one, we have report Public Works Manager, Canada's new railway guide crossing regulations, page 35.
So, the new regulations came into effect on November 28th, 2014, after a 2-year feedback period, which the federal government was open to receiving feedback from municipalities. The first 2 years of the new regulations were a phasing in period, an acclimation period, so that municipalities could assess their railway crossings, determine what the needs were. The deadline for that first 2-year period was November 26th. Municipalities and railway authorities were required to share information back and forth with respect to the surfaces, the sight lines, safety and traffic issues at the crossings. Public Works provided that information to CN Rail on the 25th of November, just under the wire. Based on the new regulations, Brunswick Beach, the crossing, and Kelvin Grove crossing both require substantial works. The crossing surfaces have deteriorated badly and are in need of replacement. Traffic signage at all the crossings is inaccurate. It does not meet the new regulations. And sight lines are significantly out of bounds with the regulations at Kelvin Grove and Lions Bay Avenue. Sight lines are going to be done by CN Rail. Their contractors will do the sightline work within the rail, and hence I haven't included the costs in here. Those will be costs that we'll need to factor in later after discussion with CN Rail. What I have done is provided the costs for the upgrades to the surfaces and the traffic markings and the traffic signage, and sightline work on municipal property.
Can I ask a question at
Sure.
that point? That's one that got my eye.
Yeah.
When I read it, it sounded like they want us to be responsible for the sightline area, even though it may be on the railway right away.
We are responsible for the costs. They will do the work.
Do we have any control over the costs?
No. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to the world of railroad.
Yeah, like I say, the municipalities had 2 years, I think starting in the summer of 2012, to provide feedback. And I'm not sure if the village did provide any feedback. I know that West Van did provide feedback on the cost implications that it was going to face at their crossings. Based upon my preliminary estimates, the Brunswick Beach crossing will cost approximately $64,890, while the Kelvin Grove crossing will cost $40,300. Both of these projects are eligible for grant funding through the Railway Safety Improvement Program. The program has 3 intakes. The first intake is already passed. That's for the 2016-2017 window. The second intake is the 2017-2018 window. The deadline for application is December 23rd. The third intake, which is the 2018-2019 window, is closes on August 1st, 2017. Both of the remaining intakes have a total of $20 million each for funding. Staff have proposed, staff have come up with 3 options. The first is to defer the upgrades for the current funding window. And essentially what that does is it allows us time to build reserves and defer some of the initial works. The problem with that is that we may not see any more funding through the RISP program or the RSIP program. The second option is to pursue grant funding for the upcoming window, the 2017-2018 window, with a deadline of December 23rd. Applying for that window allows us the opportunity to apply for the second window if we're not successful in this window. And the third option is to wait until the 2018-2019 window, which again allows us to defer costs for a year, but if we're not successful, there's no guarantee that any grant funding will be available beyond that. So staff recommend that council direct staff to apply for grant funding for the improvement of the Kelvin Grove and Brunswick Beach railway grade crossings through the Railway Safety Improvement Program by December 23rd, 2016. And that the Chief Financial Officer ensure that the capital works described in this report be included in the 5-year financial plan for the Village of Florence Bay.
Comments, questions? Yeah.
How dangerous are these? By deferring the costs, is there a chance of a derailment or?
The danger in the crossings is primarily for pedestrians. The surfaces are uneven and deteriorating to the point where they're starting to degrade, and there's some potholes. So the concern is that impatient people waiting may try and beat the train at a crossing and trip or fall over those surfaces.
Okay, and if we don't do them, if we do defer them, is there a chance that CN will come in, do it, and then bill us back at a higher cost?
CN will do the work. We won't be able to do the work, so we're going to be paying CN regardless.
Okay.
I'm not sure as to whether they'll just come in and do it. I think they will have discussions with us because we are going to be paying. That said, other municipalities such as Vancouver have crossings upward in the number of 100, Richmond, Delta. So I'm not sure how long it'll take for upgrades at all those. So their timing may be beyond the 5-year window. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Ron?
Acting Mayor Bain, page 39 of 150, following what Public Works Manager Jennifer said, the resolutions, number 1 and number 2 are substantially bullet point number 2. I view that options number 1 and number 3 are financially much greater risk to the villagers than pursuing the grant funding now and proceeding now.
I agree.
Okay. Another question I had though, on page 38 of 150, it says these projects may be eligible for grant funding of up to 80% for any one project.
Correct.
So we can only do one per intake.
No, there are 2. We will be submitting 2 projects. There's no limit to the number of projects you submit.
But it's 80% of the cost for any one project though.
Yeah, so we will submit 2 projects, the first being a 64,000 project, which we will be eligible for up to 80% of.
Mm-hmm.
The second project we'll submit is a 40,000, which will also be eligible for up to 80,000 on that.
Another
Okay.
one.
Yeah, another one, okay. Yes, oddly worded.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
That's fine. Another question I have, it's slightly unrelated, but I understand that we pay the rail company for the privilege of having a crossing at Lions Bay and at Kelvin Grove.
We pay a crossing maintenance fee, and they do periodic maintenance on the signal lights, etc. And that's what that cost is. It's not a license fee for the crossing, it's maintenance costs.
Okay, but we don't pay it on Brunswick Beach because Brunswick Beach predated the railway, as I understand it. So I'm kind of curious why they're charging us for all three of these. It just seems like it's an awful download of expenses, and I wonder if it's challengeable.
I
Maybe
don't
it depends
think
what
Brunswick
you-
Beach would have predated the railway. Railway would have been 1905 or...
I think, didn't we go through this in the last term? There was a discussion that they weren't charging us for Brunswick Beach because of the longevity of Brunswick Beach and the early settlement there.
I'm pretty sure that that's right. I think that parts of Brunswick actually do predate the railroad in a lot of respects.
Really? Like
Yeah.
turn of the century?
Yeah, it goes back, way, way back.
That's why we
The,
do beaver trapping over there too.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. But when you look at the history, how the tracks have moved down there, something strange has gone on. So it's got to be something like that. Because they've moved, the road is where the track should be and the track is where the
Right.
road should be.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well said.
The crossing agreement for Brunswick Beach is attached. It's certificate 6307. I'm not sure what package it is, or what page it is. On the
57.
package. 57.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's
It appears that the agreement was renegotiated with the village in 2000. And at that time, the stipulations are that the crossing shall be maintained, signals displayed,
Number 5.
the cost of maintenance are the responsibility of the village of Lions Bay. So,
Yeah, no, you've got the documentation there. I'm just kind of wondering what we were told during our last term. It just seemed to contradict this, although maybe somebody had forgotten this negotiation here.
I am not sure.
Fred, weren't we duking it out because they submitted an invoice when we basically wanted it to be gone? And I think we kept pushing it to the back, and I think it has gone.
Yeah, same with West Van. They were disputing these charges again
Yeah,
with their
so-
crossings as well.
So those charges pertain to CN's want to reevaluate all their licensing charges. I know that in West Van, it was a standard charge that we were paying for the maintenance of the crossings, and those prices went up without negotiation, without discussion. CN provided us with an invoice, and council balked at that and did not pay that at that point. But I don't believe that had anything to do with a junior or senior at each railway crossing, which party was there first. It was just on their maintenance fees.
Right.
I think that anybody that's read the Railroad Act or the Banking Act, both of those predate Canada, and like they were done way, way, way back, and before any of these, like the lines and the places and the locations were well established, and they have got more power than anybody else in the country. Those two acts. So whatever they say is going to be, because that's their power. That's what they've got. They're running the railroad and they formed the country.
Yep.
End of story. No matter who predated who.
Well, I have one question that was floated into us from our absent mayor. If we don't do the railway crossings ourselves, what happens exactly? What are the punitive actions? And he says, because talk about downloading, exclamation mark. I'll leave the rest of it
Well,
off.
that's a nice answer to Eileen.
So yeah, essentially the village had an opportunity in the first 2 years between 2012 and 2014 to provide feedback. I'm unaware as that the village did or did not. I do know that West Van and several other municipalities did provide feedback. Some of the options were listened to, others were not, and what we have as of 2014 are the finalized gazetted recommendations.
Okay.
My concern with this whole process is that we have a responsibility, no matter how you look at it, for the railroad crossing because our residents are crossing them all the time. And so we need to ensure that they're as safe as possible at all times. And I don't think we can afford to ignore the opportunity for the application of the funding, and just move on it and get it done. Because I know those crossings are deplorable.
I think to the point of the mayor's question, as well as the information that's at the top of page 36 of Mr. Jaffer's report, which indicates that failure to comply could lead to fines of $125,000 per day if the standards are not met. So that's
Cheaper to fix it.
That's another way of putting it.
That's not gonna happen.
it's a pretty big stick. They might not
Yeah.
hit us with it, but they might wave it.
I'll mark that answer as qualifying.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Are we ready to make a resolution on the recommendations?
I put forward the resolution as written. Okay.
Second? Jim?
Second.
Good. All those in favor? Carried. Next one. Now, Mayor being absent, he has no report forwarded to us. Council members, any reports? Councilor McLaughlin.
I can advise that Santa's breakfast this last Sunday was its regular roaring success, with north of 350 residents, both large and small, young and old, attending. And apparently the big guy, red suit, white beard, no, it wasn't me, was there as well.
Any other council reports at this time?
It's under committees.
Could you? That would be fine. Okay. Committees. Any reports under committees?
First of all, I'd like to thank staff for replacing the lights in the EOC room. We were dazzled when we went in and turned the lights on. We have, ESS has one new member, an additional member. We lost Pat Smith because she's moved from the village, but we made up for it. We do have members who can't attend meetings, but they're trained, and in an emergency they would show up and know what to do. 3 of us took the Emergency Management BC conference for a week in November, and it was excellent. My fees, I think they're like nearly $700, were paid by the Emergency Management BC, so it didn't cost the village anything. And I attended one course that was really relating to Lions Bay. It was a Salt Spring Island, how they are doing their emergency management. And they have a lot of dead-end streets, as we do. And if there were a really bad disaster, there would possibly be a lot of people who could not get to the village hall. So the way they have it is they've almost got their block watch people, and they'd have like, you would go to a designated spot on your road and basically check in, because the block watch people know who are in their area. And if there was somebody not show up, you could go and check that they were all right. And I think this, I know we have to keep block watch totally separate from anything else, but I think this would actually be something that block watch may be able to do. I'd like to work with Ruth on that, and the ESS. The other problem is the OK Help signs in a disaster. They get left in the window and people leave the home. So then the responders are trying to go to a house where they think someone needs help and they're not there, and it's wasting valuable time. So they have, Salt Spring has a system whereby if you're leaving your home, you take a towel, any towel, and you put it at the end of your driveway with a rock or something on it just to hold it there. And that means there's nobody in that house. So they can not worry about you. Anyway, they had some wonderful, wonderful ideas there. And that's the ESS report.
Good, thank you. Sounds like a candidate for the steering committee coming up. Oh, did I say that out loud?
We're at the point with the ESS where we could have an ESS day and actually fake a disaster and do a dry run. I mean, it's all kind of great to talk about this stuff, and we know that it's kind of there and that kind of thing. But it's in the practice when the big one occurs, whatever that is. So I'm just thinking out loud, I mean, listening to these outstanding ideas and the obvious things that are wrong that are innocent enough. So I'm thinking, because ESS is a topic that comes up, not frequently, but often enough to be a burr in the saddle here, that if we do have a situation that arises, are we really ready? And the answer is probably, maybe in our minds we are.
Yes, ESS does little scenarios at every meeting. We do something. I personally was surprised at how many people don't know what ESS is. I mean, even people joining it weren't really sure what they were joining.
Yeah.
So I do think we need some education out there, and it would be good to have a
ESS
disaster
Yeah, disaster run.
run. It would be good in the summer.
Here's
It's
your proprietary
bit
idea for
cold.
the budget. You need a budget to do it, to get all the manpower that you need.
Yes, I
that
guess.
the team needs.
Yeah, well, I think what you're alluding to would go better, or not better, but best with a larger scale of operation, including some of the other emergency services, because ESS is one component of our emergency response.
Well, I
Go
wonder
ahead.
too if we couldn't do a better job of communicating through even through the mayor's update on a regular basis, what's going on with ESS and what's happening. Like just one line mention in there so people understand what ESS is and what they do and what's in place in the village. Because we have that communication going, it works really well, but we need to start thinking about some of these little things that need to be corrected. And I think that's one of them. That's a good point.
But I think that's the way they would get corrected, is by doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the part of the puzzle I think we're missing is somebody with the skill of coordinating such a thing. You can't really put it on any one of the emergency services, because fire is focused on fire, ambulance is focused on ambulance. There's a good argument that could be made for an emergency coordinator if somebody can come up with a lot of funds.
I wonder if we could even take this and put it onto another page on the website, like something like that, that is regularly added to and kept up by either a coordinator or somebody from ESS or whatever the case is, just to make sure that it's there all the time, it's correct and it's right.
Fred, I put this down as a budget item, which leads to the discussion, because if you're gonna have an outside facilitator and coordinate the whole thing, then
Yep.
you need a number, and the number leads to the manpower, which then leads to the date, and that leads to it happening.
Sure.
Well, I think
So-
that, if I could just chime in
Yeah.
for a second, in terms of educational aspects of ESS and all of our emergency services, we do intend to provide a lot of educational material on the new website. And not only for our emergency services, but all of our services. Do a better job of describing what it is we do and what services are available and who does what and how things work. So certainly something that we can work towards, and as we ramp up and start uploading materials to the website.
The reason we have the website is for that reason, for communication purposes, get messages out there, people, and more people have access to the website, so it's good, it's a good communication point.
So from where we are right now to making it part of a budget discussion, what would we need to register here? Do we have a recommendation, or?
I think when Pam comes forward with the, let's call it for lack of a better word, the department projections, I think that might be the time to readdress and have a general discussion on where we are or where we think we are, and what is it that we want to do. As everybody knows, there are some fatalities in the budget process, and I can't project that now.
Yeah.
But I bring that.
Can we leave it that to staff to re-bring it up the next time we go around on a budget discussion?
Yeah, there'll be if you want to speak to the budget process as it pertains to ESS, Pam.
We had actually noted with ESS that we'd been underspent on our budget, and it was something that we did want to address in terms of what council direction, which you've started to provide, wanted to provide for that department. I know, isn't ESS without a leader at this time, or?
Yes, yes, we don't
yes.
have a director,
A
but
director.
Tina and I are
Mhm.
sort of handling everything that needs to be handled.
So that's something we can maybe work on in terms of getting some feedback from council, but also just I had targeted that whole budget to look at, like I say, because it has been underspent for the last couple of years, but it is something that is critically important, and maybe starting to address what the needs are in terms of EOC, and then budgeting accordingly. But then making sure we have the resources to sort of spend the budget, so to speak. I mean, we have put money in for training the last couple of years, but just it hasn't been able to be spent. But it wouldn't be my recommendation to cut the budget for the training. It would be rather find a way that we can facilitate that people can take the training.
That's right.
Well, as Eileen pointed out, that we got a great benefit from EMBC by funding some of the course that she did.
Yes.
Yes, so
there was
that
some
saved us
savings there.
$600,
Yeah.
or $700 actually.
Right,
Good.
right. So, yes, so I can take that as part of the budget process.
Good, thank you. Next committee, I'll just give a brief overview of the last infrastructure committee meeting we had on November 28th. I won't read out the whole thing, whole notes I've got here. We had some discussions about a project with we're working on with UBC to do a hydrology study uphill from us to find out what the water situation is there. That's in process. We're waiting on the UBC side to come and do another visit of our intakes. They've been prevented due to the rough weather. We've also been working with the engineers about the proposed design and revisions of infiltration gallery on Magnesia. They're working away on that. I think the IC is quite pleased with the way it's moving ahead. Engineers are also going to have a look at the Harvey intake at the Weir, prepare a report including costs for this work. That's still in process as well, and I understand staff are working on an argument for the funding of something like that. I won't tip their hand. Let's see, what else did we have here? I think the Bayview culvert tender engineering work is being done at this time. Soon to be coming to workable drawings for next year, I believe. Raise your hand if I'm off base on any of you who are at the meeting. We have an interest in claiming the public land back and altering or inadvertently restricting drainage in suit. Oops, that didn't work out right. My sentence poorly constructed. Anyhow, we're looking at taking back the public realm as relating to the drainage around the village. Driveways getting in the way of it, culverts not the right size, and all that sort of thing. It's a big issue, so
Most of it's due to elevation concerns when the property line, where the property line ends and the road starts. And in a lot of cases, we end up losing that portion of it because the driveway can't possibly just go like this and down. And it makes it pretty difficult. So we've got a lot of situations like that in the village.
yeah.
I know in Isleview is quite prevalent. So
It's going to be a project that'll take quite a while to
Yeah.
resolve, I think.
it's going to take a lot of years to resolve that.
We also had the discussion about the Lions Bay Water Network, tank controls, how many tanks we should have, level of chlorination. That was a big discussion. How many tanks we should have, yeah. Another topic was brought up about the notion of using wells to augment or peak shave our water supply. At one time, a study had said there was too much arsenic in the water in the hills behind us. Recent testing has shown that the levels of arsenic are insignificant, so it might be something we could consider. So we're thinking about that one. No decision made on that one yet. Yes?
Insignificant because they've raised the standards and you can have
No.
a lot more arsenic than you used to, okay.
No, there's far less arsenic in the ground than they thought there was before. And the test sites that were done weren't in our locale. They were around us, but not here. And our water testing is showing that a much lower level of arsenic than ever was thought to be here.
Oh,
what, just trace
Yeah,
elements?
barely detectable.
Yeah, so, and that was about it. Next meeting, January 16th, 2017. Good. Questions? Comments? Okay. Let's move right along. We have a report on emergency services, fire department, their monthly report.
Motion received.
Motion to receive, second. All those in favor? Carried. And we have a motion to receive, we have
We don't have-
we have the RCMP one right behind. Is there any comments about any of this, or still this fine? Okay. Okay, over to resolutions. We have a request for decision on the statutory right-of-way agreement. And, so, John, I think this is your issue.
Can I speak to it now, or?
Up to you.
Why don't you start and I'll chime in?
Sounds good. So, as you're aware, lots 135, 145 at the bottom of Tidewater Way have been consolidated. There was a right-of-way that straddled both those lots to provide drainage to the ocean that would drain the cul-de-sac at the bottom of Tidewater Way. Staff have negotiated a revised right-of-way agreement that moves the right-of-way to the edge of the property to allow for a larger building envelope. As part of that agreement, we have negotiated a contribution from the proponent to fund the construction costs for the installation of the drainage system for the cul-de-sac out to the ocean.
Wow. Just for clarity on the map,
Sure.
the dotted line one is the existing right-of-way, and the bold line is the new right-of-way?
Correct, the dotted line is the now defunct right-of-way and the bold one is the new
Okay,
one.
okay, thank you.
Our net costs are,
Zero.
thank you.
So, and the only other thing I'd add to that is that the legal costs associated with this work have also been paid by or will be paid by the proponent, up to 3,500.
Correct.
Which is about where we sit, I think, roughly.
Wow.
We're finalizing those costs.
Sounds like a happy deal. Any comments, questions around the table?
Would you recommend the resolutions 1, 2, 3 as written?
Okay.
And I've got the chief financial officer and the mayor signing so that I can witness their signatures for land titles.
Okay, I was just thinking that.
I have one question before we put it to a vote. On page 73 of 150, I've read this a few times, and I'm struggling with what it really means. Like, any discretion of the manager is not subject to public law duties, and the principles of procedure fairness and the rules of natural justice have no application. What?
So that's basically saying that while we would never be unreasonable or unfair to the resident, there are procedural fairness rules that can apply in certain situations where people are applying for permits or licenses or rights of way or so forth. And so what this is saying is that we're not bound by those rules of procedural fairness or natural
Okay.
justice, which is, as I say, not to say that we're going to be unfair, but that the manager's discretion is not subject to those principles.
Okay. Fair enough. So, was that a motion from Councillor McLaughlin to
It
accept
was.
the three recommendations? Any questions? All those in favor?
I don't know if you had a seconder, did we?
Second.
Yeah. So that's carried then. Unanimous? Good, thank you. Good work. Whoops. And where were the bylaws now? Request for decision, the recommendation about fees bylaw 497, 2016 be given third reading. Let's see, a few of us have had a look at this already. Anything you'd like to add, CFO Brooke?
Basically, we took the feedback that we got at the last, I guess, CSC meeting, Council Strategy Committee meeting, and basically implemented all of the suggestions that Council advised. With regard to the building permits fee, we didn't have an exact number in there, but Council guided us that they wanted us to be less than West Vancouver and the District of North Van. So I've calculated a fee that will make us lower than them, but just a little bit higher than Squamish, so I think that fits in right where Council wanted to be.
Okay.
And that's the fees that are in here. That's these range here.
The renewal.
Oh, yes, that was, Council had wanted the permit renewal to be 75% of the building permit fee, which we put in.
Right.
So really the only, we implemented all of the changes, it's just here. I've
This is the
adjusted that so
bottom of
that
page
it's-
86, the last two blocks.
I apologize. As Councillor McLaughlin said, page 8 of the bylaw, or page 86. So under
86,
the
last two
building
blocks.
permit fees, they will result in a fee that's about 30% higher than what we're charging now, but will fall into line with Council's direction, less than West Vancouver and the District of North Vancouver,
Okay.
but fairly close. And we haven't, just for the benefit of Councillor Wilkie, we haven't actually changed our fees bylaw for years. So there is a bit of a jump in the fees, but our hope now is, well, our plan is that we will now look at it every fall and get it implemented by the end of the year to be effective January 1st of the following year. And then we can take those fees and incorporate them into the budget. And then we will also be letting everyone know about this in the village update, the last village update of the year, December 23rd. We'll just draw the residents' attention to the fact that the fees bylaw has changed, and we'll give them a link to it on the website so they could take a look at it.
So the fees are dictated by cost,
Yes,
and the village is incurring cost because of
Exactly.
this, so we have no choice but to put them on.
exactly.
Yes.
This is the third reading, so I haven't seen the original ones, but when you give a proposal like this, do we normally have the original and the change?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we did
that's-
have that. And
okay,
as
that's
well,
great.
up until the third reading, we had additional columns. So we had original fee, we didn't just do track changes, we had the original fee, the proposed fee, and then we discussed, the explanation
Great,
for it.
thank
So
you.
unfortunately, you missed that, but that will always be part of the process.
Okay.
For, actually even before any readings now, we will come forward, we'll discuss it with council, take their recommendations, and then go to the readings and the adoption.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just on the 2-year renewal of the building permits, I think that if you could refresh my memory on this one, Pam, that is standard in the municipal world, or is that something we've home cooked?
It's, if I can speak to that, this is, all we're doing really is setting the fee here.
Okay.
It's a fee bylaw.
Okay.
So the 2 years is in the building bylaw.
Then, okay.
So that's the place where we would address any changes you want to discuss about that at a later date.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. One thing I'm a little awkward about this, I think it's just an edit. On page 91 of 150, I remember we had the discussion about operating a vehicle or combination of vehicles in excess of 63,500
Yes.
Yeah, we had that
kilograms.
discussion.
We were gonna deal with that, and I presume it just slipped.
Like,
We had some discussion about it, but basically, we are not at a place where we can come up with, we need to do some research, basically, in order to determine whether or not an appropriate figure is less than or exactly what it should be. I know there was some discussion about that, but there was a fair bit of wide-ranging discussion about number of axles and all kinds of different things. So
Yeah.
it's an area that I'd like us to look at a little closer. And it is actually an area that looking at with the planning consultant on the zoning bylaw. So I thought that we would leave it alone for now. This is basically leaving it as it was. And if we require an amendment to it later, we can just do a one-off amendment of this particular item once we've determined what it ought to be.
Okay.
Is
Or
this
would
an
it-
IRR item, Peter? So it doesn't get lost?
No, I wouldn't consider it that, but
Okay.
we could. I guess.
Well, I'm just thinking
yeah,
that, this, I mean, the ultimate safe gap is we're looking at this a year from now anyhow, so, the issue here is how do we prioritize your time? And I don't think there's a lot of over 63,000 kilogram vehicles running up and down right now, so it's not that important.
Well, yeah, I think that's the point is you're not going to see a single one of these $35 fees
Yeah,
because
this
the
would be
truck
like
couldn't make it over
it's
the bridges to
like
get
the
here.
USS Enterprise going up
Yeah.
Bayview.
So is it better to leave it as is or just delete it? Or can we do that on the third reading?
I think you've got a plan here, Peter, I know you do.
I'd rather just leave it,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to it. And I will add it to the IRR. so
Okay,
that-
thanks.
So that we
Okay.
don't lose it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good.
Dog fee didn't change, I'm happy.
Okay. If there's no further comments or questions, we've got the resolution or recommendation, the recommendation that fees by law be given a third reading.
Might I suggest that the rookie counselor make her hand go up for the first time?
It's not the first time, it's been going up.
Yeah. Good.
It's been very active down here.
To lead the motion?
Sure. You don't record who makes the motions anymore, do you?
Something for the
Long
archives.
down, no.
Yeah. I guess so. Anyhow, do we have a second? Good. All those in favor? See, they all went up. I think that's unanimous. Next one, Lions Bay Development Application Procedures and Fees by Law. 431 on page 99.
So this is for adoption. Last time we went through it and I basically reiterated in the key information what the purpose of the bylaw is, which is to introduce a preliminary review process for any applications dealing with OCP and zoning amendments, as well as for any applications dealing with development permits, development variance permits, temporary use permits, and subdivisions, as there's currently little or no guidance for prospective applicants and for staff in terms of the criteria and the information that's going to be required on these types of applications. So it really fleshes out a bylaw that didn't really have very much guidance in it and provides a lot of information and sort of a path for people to follow and for staff to follow. And yeah, so this is had 3 readings. And this is for adoption.
Good. Just a question. You've got the office call consolidation. Am I reading this correctly? That this is essentially a Coles Notes version of the bylaw, just a quick, easy read?
So basically what it is this is how the bylaw reads after adoption. So
Right.
it takes the original bylaw and it incorporates all the changes to that bylaw, the amending bylaw. So what you're giving adoption to is the amending bylaw.
Right.
So after you've done that, then all those changes are incorporated into the original bylaw, and so this is how it now reads.
Right.
So it's, for all intents and purposes, it becomes the bylaw. And the blurb at the beginning is more or less just legal disclaimer that, you know, if we had to go to court on the bylaw, I'd be taking the original bylaw and the amending bylaw. I'd also take the consolidation, because the judge would want to see the consolidation, but I'd probably have to prove each, you know, if there were particular provisions that were at issue, I'd have to show
Right.
how the amendment worked to the original bylaw. So you always have to take the original bylaws to court if you do that. So that's all this is
Okay.
more or less a disclaimer, but for all intents and purposes, for everyone's knowledge and edification. If you read this, this is what the bylaw is.
Good, thanks. Any other questions, comments? Okay, let's, excuse me, should we move for adoption then of Village of Lions Bay Development Application Procedure Bylaw Fees 431 to 11 and Amendment Bylaw 509 2016. All those in favor? Carried, unanimous. And we're down to Infrastructure Master Plan Financing Loan Authorization Bylaw 508 2016 adoption, page 123.
So this is the loan authorization bylaw that we put to the community, which passed in the referendum on November 19th by a 93% vote in favor. Basically, the report reiterates some of the objectives that were brought forward when the bylaw was first presented, and what happens after adoption is we wait 30 days and then send a certified copy of the bylaw to the ministry, along with a certificate from me as corporate officer, and then the bylaw is done, and we're then in a position to seek security issuing bylaws in the future based upon this bylaw, assuming, of course, that we're successful in our grant applications, which we've also submitted in time for the deadline, which was November 23rd. Mm-hmm. So we're just sitting around on pins and needles, waiting to hear the good news.
So with that, we are on schedule for what we were planning for our approach for the,
yes.
the grant funding.
Yeah.
Good.
And the third resolution that's part of the recommendations is that the CFO incorporate the expenditures and revenues anticipated in the 5-year financial plan.
Good. No further comments or questions?
Then I would put forward a resolution to support the 3 as written.
Resolution made. Second? Yep. Question? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're down to, whoops. Oh, did you wish to address this, or that's just part of the package for the?
That was part of the package. Councillor Bain's referring to page 129 and 130 of the agenda, which is the determination of official election results and declaration of official election results. Just as part of the package which enabled you to adopt the bylaw. I will be presenting to council a more detailed report with respect to the election. I have to do that within 30 days of the date of that official declaration. So at the next council meeting, I will be doing that. And that will detail the election and any recommendations going forward. There's a few things that that we would like to see changed in the election procedures bylaw, and so we'll have a discussion about that when I present that report.
Good, thanks. Okay, correspondence. Councillor McLaughlin, do you wish your to do your oversight?
I was all prepared for the business. Let me just gather myself for a second. All right, so I can beat my personal time on this one. Okay, short-term rentals, Harrison Hot Springs to Minister Fassbender's. This was copied to all the UBCM communities, and in my view, there is no ask, no response. This was a topic that is before us with, as it relates to other matters too. G2, municipal smoke-free. This is from the Canadian Cancer Society. Supposedly this came to us this past summer, although it escapes me that it did. And I'm a bit unusual that is. I'm confounded by it, that we shouldn't copy other municipalities like Canal Flats and copying stuff. But it seems like a pretty obvious thing to me, so actually I'd like to stop here for a second and say, is this something that we would do? I actually don't remember it coming to us before.
Question from
Basic.
Oh, we have a question from,
Yeah,
I'm stopping now.
okay.
yeah, I think it's wonderful to do this. I mean, a
Well,
lot of
it-
places you
I
go,
mean,
you just can't. I am a non-smoker, but I don't think I have to declare a conflict for that, but.
Well, this is a more universal cause than some of the stuff that we get, which is fairly laser focused to their thing.
And it would just restrict smoking in our parks and our beaches and places really where people shouldn't be smoking anyway.
Of which we're already kind of bylawed for. Peter, do you have a comment on this one? I mean, I'm thinking parks and beaches, and nobody smokes in the gym anyway, so.
But there's,
I can't remember whether there's any prohibition.
wherever, there's a prohibition in place if there's employees, okay? There's the de facto prohibition from WorkSafe BC for all employees in all workplaces in all British Columbia. So that solves the problem in the gymnasium, wherever the case is, in the council office, in any public areas where there's employees of the village. That's not allowed. Smoking and stuff like that would not be allowed. It's to the point now where it's even going from WorkSafe BC now after all the vaporizers and all that kind of stuff. They're also doing the same thing. The restriction for 75 feet from each side of the doorway and stuff like that in the buildings. It's all. So this, I mean, this is good. The thing is, but a lot of it's already done. A lot of it's already in place through the regulations from WorkSafe BC.
Jim, do you want to park this till next session and take this one away? I mean, I'm trying to sprung this on you here. Think about it, and if it's something you think should come forward, then we should go
Yeah, no,
forward.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
I
done?
wouldn't mind doing that.
So,
And we may want to address not this particular letter, but the.
well, there's no research. I don't know what these people did, what the recommendation was. A lot of, Eileen, when they're making a recommendation to accept, they actually do the work and actually submit what they would like us to say.
Oh, okay.
So they haven't done that, so don't know. So I think we're basically dropping
I think-
this in Jimmy's lap.
I think that, I think a lot of this is already in place. I really do. I think there's a bit of a
Okay.
Clean Air Coalition thing, you know, and it's like a
So-
lot of it's already done. So
Okay.
I'm a little confused
But
as to
do we
why it's
have the
here.
bylaws that say no smoking?
We don't need the bylaws if it's a public, if it's a workplace. We don't need the bylaws and most of our stuff,
I don't know if you could classify.
well, maybe
The
not, maybe.
beach
just
is a
maybe-
workplace?
Not the
Beach
beaches,
park.
no, not the beach park, no, probably not, unless there's,
So
yeah,
that might be open to.
yeah.
some-
I'd have to look at the parks.
We'll
Yeah.
shelf this one and have the Councillor Hughes come back with that at his leisure.
Sure.
G3, which is on page 137. Mayor Jackson has made a commentary on the George Massey tunnel. This is an information piece, there's no response on
That's
that one.
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. She must be insightful because she's quoting their November 7th, 2017 regular meeting.
There you go. G4, which is the Ministry of Community, Sport and Cultural Development. This is Minister Fassbender. And this in the body of this, he's already met with Carl, and Carl's responded, and there's dialogue already, so between Carl and Jordan Sturdy, I think, if I look through this, so yes, and that's on page 145, so Carl's already following this, so I think no response on that one. Next one, which is the residence correspondent, which is Lions Bay Block Watch 101, and that was, my recommendation was to refer this to Peter for a response. And it, basically the thread of it, this was, well, it had the thread of coordinated community safety. It had a whole bunch of website updates and things like that and
Yes.
comparisons. So I'm not in a position to comment on that. So Peter, if,
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Staff did review the letter when it came in, and we have actually updated the website so that it points at Squamish detachment RCMP information, which made a lot more sense. And but some of the other information, so can you click on that, Shauna?
Yeah, the other stuff at the bottom in number 4, I believe it is. This page was it's actually not an active link on our website. So I guess sometimes it has to do with your cookies in your computer. If you've been to that page in the past, then your computer can still bring it up. If you Google specifically that page, it's actually, but it's not an active link on our website. So what she wanted updated there is irrelevant because we don't have it on our website anymore.
That's the community groups link.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were some attachments. She had some PDF stuff.
Right.
Delete this and that, but yeah, it's not on there. So.
And we will be in the process of uploading now to the new website. So it'll still take some time. There's a lot involved with that. So we're still a month or two away from that. So
Peter, can we ask that you respond to Ruth then?
yep.
Done, thank you.
To her first point about providing an overview, is that something that staff would have availability for, or time-wise?
Sorry, the
Point one.
Yeah, I mean she's making the offer to both staff and council, and perhaps that would be perhaps an opportunity that we could explore in terms of having the policing coordinator, the new policing coordinator, come in with Ruth and do a presentation to council and the staff who normally attend these meetings, at the very least, and we can pass on the information to the rest of the staff. So, but yeah, that would be something I'd be keen to follow up on as well.
Okay. Good.
Alrighty, R2, this was our test case of where a council member responded to a resident, and it comes back into the correspondence, so no response there.
I would like to update, I had a very positive, amicable meeting with the resident, and we are going to plan for, move forward and plan for maintenance of that area.
Good.
Thank you, Nye. Next one, on R3 from former councillor Ando. I think the ultimate sentence of his correspondence, if the referendum is unsuccessful, I hope that people are held accountable. Considering the resounding success it was, for those who are accountable, thank you.
Agreed.
No response. R4, Lions Bay Arts and Culture Center, and this was their high-level pitch for the former library. And Peter?
That's the suggested resolution.
And my recommendation, in the efficiency and hoping to get done by 9 tonight, that in a limited discussion with the CAO, he and I concur that the best avenue would be for me to put forward the resolution, and this is where it goes, that the Arts Council be requested to consult with the CAO to obtain staff input and considerations and to return to council with a much more detailed proposal which considers all potential users and issues, which I put forward.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
second that one, that's good.
Good. We got seconds and thirds on that one.
We bypassed the questions. Okay, good. All in favor? Yes. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Which concludes the correspondence section this evening.
Good, thank you. Now we have
New business.
new business.
Thank you,
Uh,
Annette.
A, Trailblazers.
Trailblazers, I will excerpt the request from Mr. Trailblazer. Hard to believe that it's 2 years have gone by and a year since the first memorial for Aaron Moore, just above my home on Upper Ocean View. The Trailblazers normally host I can't remember if it's a Saturday or Sunday memorial walk, which is attended by, I think, north of 100 people last year. They have, the Trailblazer has said, to quote, "Last year you kindly got permission for us to borrow 5 tables from the village hall to set up in our garage for what has now become the annual walk for Erin. We were wondering if we could do the same again this year on December the 17th. They've only been needed for approximately 6 hours. We actually picked up the tables from the shed at the back of the hall. Don't think they're stored there. No, thank you, Nye. So, I don't know whether we're having a big card game on the 17th, but I'm gonna guess not. I think we can, I'm looking for staff here. Can we just bring the 5 tables?
We have to chat to see. I mean, it would only be if the hall was rented and they needed the tables.
Well, it should be not to say that that doesn't happen. Okay, so you don't have the data, so can we do this presuming the tables are not all taken? That staff would make arrangements for,
So we're waiving the rental.
Yeah, well, they're
Okay.
the municipal grant recipients, right?
yeah.
Do you know if there's in kind included in
No,
that?
I asked them about that because I asked them to do it for 2017. So mucky as this is, they need to come make the application for the tables.
We can flag it for 2017, to put it in the municipal grant, but for this year it would be a waiving of the fee then.
Mhm.
Well, I would propose waiving the fee. Subject to the tables being available, which only staff can tell us, I would propose waiving the fee. And
What was the
that,
date?
the December 17th, I'll give you this,
Oh,
December the 17th. Any chance they could be put on a truck and shot up to Ocean View, or should we have the resident students?
We can work something out.
Okay.
If the tables are available.
December 17th, is that a weekday?
Friday or Saturday?
Because
It's
it'd be an issue
probably
if it was a weekend.
Saturday, so we
Saturday.
could,
Yes.
so the deal would be, we could probably do it for Friday, come back on Monday,
Sure.
in a perfect scenario. Again, for me, I love the Trailblazers, and Mr. Trailblazer is my next door neighbor. I have counseled him for his 27 community grant, that it's fleshed out and dated. So, thank you, more details all around. So, the resolution is, the resolution is that the cost for 5 tables is waived, that on the presumption that the tables are available, that on the Friday before, Works Department delivers them to the address to be named sometime during the day, and pick them up on Monday from the address to be named. If that sits with staff, I will put it to the vote. Thank you, yes.
Do we have a second?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And I will give you that mess. Thank you. And there we go. And I'll pull that together too. Thank you. Back to the other two, and this is our, the longer term counselor's way of saying hello to Councillor Wilkie. That unbeknownst to her, on her soon-to-be activated counselor email are 2 things. One is the 2017 BC Community Achievement Awards with a deadline of January the 20th. to cover both topics at the same time. The second item on her email is the BC Medal of Good Citizenship with a similar January deadline. This is a council function to put forward community members, explore the opportunity. So we would ask that you do that for either the next council session in camera or the one after that.
Okay.
And certainly you could seek feedback from the other council members as you look at the data.
Okay.
So welcome, and you now have yet another
Job.
email. You now have another email address.
I know.
Just what you need.
Yeah. And that was, even though Mayor Brewer is not here, that was unanimously discussed last time.
I'm sure it is. Delegate.
Well, you weren't here.
Hey,
He is a generator of
where's
lots
the
of email.
workload?
He's a generator
Where's
of
the
lots of
workload?
email.
Where's the
Yeah.
commitment? Come
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Thank you, on behalf of all of us.
So that's the end of new business. Public questions and comments. Anything from our seated folks in the back? Seeing none, we are now going into a closed council meeting.
We need to make a motion
Okay,
to close.
we have a
As
motion.
per,
I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. Close the public on the basis the matters to be considered in the following sections of the community charter.
I do.
91A and 92A, and
91, A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
Oops.
H, J, and 90 sub 2 and B, 2B.
my new glasses aren't here yet. Thank
We've
you.
got the gist of it.
Like you said,
Yeah.
Second,
Where we at?
Done.
closed meeting, going into
Oh,
closed.
going into, okay. Thank you.
and a vote.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
It's on of hands, yeah.
There.
There we go.
Sean had it.
Okay, we are now in the open session again. Nothing to report from the closed session. So doing, do you have someone who want to move adjournment?
Let me.
Second? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I've got
Meeting is over. Survived your
9:58.
first
No,
council.
9:48.
Congratulations.